pandemic back. So for those of you who've been here before, you've seen this slide already. We created a safe space to have uncomfortable conversations. I'm really excited that it's a nice, intimate group tonight so that we really get to get into the nitty gritty of how we were all feeling after the election, what we want to get out of it and what we want to do moving forward. And so this is a dialogue, not a monologue. I have started the conversation, but I will not be the person that is ending it. It'll be all of you having the opportunity to talk to each other. Because it's so few of us, we will probably do this all in a big group. So let's keep it going. But if we have some other folks who signed up, come on and join us, then we will do breakout later in this session. Let's keep going. All right, so if you are able to, if you're in a position to, we would love for you to turn your cameras on. It makes the experience so much closer to being in person. I would absolutely love to be able to sit in a room with you all, but we know that the global pandemic that has decided to visit us does not allow for that. And so turning cameras on just makes this whole process a little bit easier. We really want to see your faces. We want to see the people who decided to join us tonight, but if you cannot and you're unable to, that is completely fine as well. So where do we go from here, right? This is what happened. I'm smiling because I'm happy that this is what happened. So this is what the Oval Office will look like starting in January. And so where do we go from here? When we all sat in our meeting, we knew, all meaning everybody who's a part of Black on Black education, we knew that we needed to have a follow-up conversation to the last one that we had and make sure that this effort to be more anti-racist does not end, even though we were excited about the outcome of the election. We were all in our group chat, texting back and forth the entire time throughout it as states were called, trying to just wrap our minds around what was going on. And so as our icebreaker today, just a few folks, we're here in this group together. Let's all get to know each other a little bit better. So on Saturday, November 8th, after 4 long days of staring at your screen, hoping you were going to get a notification of what the heck was going on in the world, how did we feel when the election was called for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris? So like, what were those first, I see the emojis getting excited, but what were some of those first thoughts, beliefs? How did you spend the day? I'm going to stop sharing the screen so we can all see each other while we just kind of engage with what was the feeling when that election was called. You can use the chat or come right off mute.
I felt incredibly relieved. I was really, really, really happy and very relieved. And I resent all the silly business of the last 2 weeks and trying to overturn the election and stuff like that. But on that day, I felt very relieved.
So I have my son with me.
Right.
He's 3.5, so he was watching Paw Patrol, and I had to watch CNN on my laptop all weekend. But I was watching CNN when it was finally called, and I like you said, Anna, maybe it was relief, but all I could do in that moment was cry, because all I kept thinking was, if Donald Trump was elected to a second term, my son would be 8, would be 7, and he would have to go to school in an environment where Donald Trump was president of the United States. As an educator, I didn't know just knowing the school district that I work in, and knowing other school districts, I just couldn't fathom how my half Black, half Guyanese son would navigate in a predominantly white district. And also, I'm really excited that Curry and Dahl and Rice is going to be up in the White House now. There's actually going to be representation, so that matters.
I can finally hear. I am so excited. Thank you so much for giving me grace on that.
Overall, hello? Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, yeah. Okay, just want to make sure. Overall, for my total emotions for the election was really nothing, because if you really look at the breakdown of both Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's campaign and what they're planning to do, especially for the Black community, is absolutely nothing. they have no guidelines in terms of what they're going to do to break down how they're going to help the communities in terms of uh, first reversing what he did in terms of the bill he passed in the 90s, and two, also what are they planning in terms of building back economic structure, education structure for our communities. His first 5 plans going into January have nothing to do with the people they're saying help get him into office. It's towards LGBTQ community, towards immigrants with on her side where she's from, but nothing for us. So what basically I understand that the last 4 years of Trump has not been pleasant, but exactly what Trump is as every president has been, but just discreetly. He's more out there with his racism. So what exactly are we celebrating about with these two coming to office? Is just one supremacist out, one white supremacist out, for another two to come in? That's just my thoughts on that.
So I'm glad that we got it right in the beginning, right? So we have people who are on one end of the spectrum. We have people who are on the other, people who are sitting in the middle. And that's why we wanted to come together to have this conversation. I can personally answer the question of why I was excited is because I would rather have someone in office that at least has some understanding of how the government works, so that hopefully those of us who are on the other end, who are critical of an administration, will be able to be a part of what that change looks like, rather than having to yell at a brick wall that's not going to hear anything else that has to be said. So that's kind of where I land in terms of my excitement over what happened on September 8th. And then I can't deny the fact that I have someone, Kamala Harris does not look exactly like me. I'm a dark-skinned Black woman with very kinky curly hair. And so she is not the epitome of who I am, but she is a Black woman. She does show a lot of young girls what it means to put in hard work and get that and have the fruits of your labor get you into the White House. So I think that that's absolutely and 100% something to celebrate. And we'll continue to dig through what everyone shared of what I could hear, which I'm sure was incredible, as we continue to go on. So let's come to a common understanding of what anti-racism. So to us, to Black on Black education, this is our definition. This is what we use every time we do one of these sessions. So an anti-racist is defined as the works of actively opposing racism by advocating for changes in political, economic, and social life. So obviously this event, we are talking about our political lives and what is happening in the politics in our country and how it affects us and the work that we do as people striving to be anti-racist. And there are multiple definitions. And so this one does not have to be the one that you coincide with, but they all come to the same consensus around the need to be anti-racism rather than non-racist. So let's get it going. So what are some of the things in terms of racism that have occurred in the last couple of years during a Trump administration? This is not saying that racism has not occurred before a Trump administration. This is not saying that nothing good in terms of race or mass incarceration or anything as it pertains to the economy and the Black community in the last 4 years. That is not to say any of those things. It is to say that these are some of the things that we are actively trying to be anti-racist against. So the events of Charlottesville, right in the middle, we all saw it right smack dab in the middle, right in the beginning of Trump's presidency. He made a choice. He made a choice not to be an anti-racist in the entirety of America, and people decided to turn a blind eye to it. Anti-racist education was categorized as anti-American. I think that's one of the scariest things for me to have heard, that in 2020, people who are anti something are anti-America. Well, something that a quote that I use all the time by one of my favorite writers of all time, James Baldwin, America, I would never want to live anywhere else. It is the place where I was born. It is the place that I want to make better for people who look like me. And so I will, what did he say? I will incessantly criticize her being America, because of how much he loves her. So I love the place where I live. I love the family that I have, the people that I've met because I'm an American citizen, because I live in America, because this is where I reside. And that is why I will continue to criticize her. And mass incarceration persists. So these are just some of them. There are thousands and thousands of other things that have happened in our country as it pertains to race over the last 4 years. And things that are not different than happened under Obama's administration or any other president before that, because we live in a country that is systemically and overtly and socially racist. And we have a lot of work to do before that statement is no longer true. So how do we prevent complacency? I already see on social media, like, we won, we did it. Kamala's in the White House, racism is dead, things are great. Like, already, like, waving that white flag of one change in our government now dictates what's going to happen in our country. Long before Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, there has been racism, and so that's not going to change. So there's a term, it's called moral licensing, and it's when people initially behave in a moral way, they are more likely to display behaviors that are immoral, unethical, or problematic in other ways later. So this idea, example, electing Trump after Obama and racializing it by saying that we have overcome racism since we elected a Black president. Allowing one thing to absolve you from this movement. So a few months ago, right after George Floyd, we saw an influx of people on our Instagrams and on our movie sets and in TV shows and all over the place take a stand against racism. But where are those people on all of those plans that were created and all of our Amazon banners that said Black Lives Matter and so on and so forth for all of these places that have decided that they were taking a stand against racism? Where are they now? Did the election happen and now it's over? Or are we still holding those places accountable? So what is Biden going to do for Black America? These are some of the things that Joe Biden has said is a part of his plan moving forward for Black America. Move to eliminate tax cuts imposed by Donald Trump in 2017. Immediately begin to address systemic racism. Very vague. Don't know what that means. Use federal resources to reduce instances of violence against transgender women of color. Plans to improve economic mobility of African Americans and addressing environmental injustice. Those are big plans. What exactly do any of those mean? So only one out of the 5 of those was a concrete, I am going to do. I am going to eliminate tax cuts imposed by Trump in 2017. One thing. The rest of these are huge, huge issues that no one person can change. So like we heard earlier, what exactly is it that's going to happen? I don't know. So how do we prevent this complacency? What is Joe Biden going to do for Black education? This is Black on Black education. Our goal and what it is that we want to accomplish is to make sure that Black children continually get the things that they need. These are the things that Joe Biden has said that he's going to do. Expanding access to higher quality education. Well, what does a high quality education mean? Who's defining it and who is going to be giving it to people of color and communities of color all over our country? Creating universal pre-kindergarten for 3 and 4-year-olds. Absolutely, I think that this is important, and let's figure out how we can do that. Improve diversity within schools through advocating for innovative ways to recruit and retain teachers of color. So this is a huge one. Our friends at Black Teachers Project and the Center for Black Education. Dad, help me out. Did I say that right? Black Educator Development. There we go. In Philadelphia, they are doing the work as well, making sure that we're recruiting and retaining teachers of color, but that can't just be in communities of color. We need teachers of color in predominantly white spaces as well. This work does not happen if we're doing it in silos. Addressing the African American student debt crisis. So forgiving all undergraduate tuition related federal student debt for 2- and 4-year public colleges for debt holders earning up to $125,000 and forgive student individuals making $25,000 or less per year. That's a huge one. And I am not here to advocate for or against it. And so how do we hold Biden accountable as it pertains to these things that he said that he's going to do for the Black community? How do we hold Biden accountable? How do we remove white supremacy from pedagogy and curriculum? I didn't see that in his plan. Eliminate the school to prison pipeline. We didn't see that in his plan. And definitively hire more Black educators. And more importantly, which I would love to see as a part of this, is hiring more Black administrators and more Black people who are working on the federal level for education. So now it's time for us to get the chance to talk to each other. Like I said, we have a small group, so I think I'm going to split it right down the middle and we'll have 2 breakout groups. These groups are going to be about 15 minutes. And in those groups, we are going to have a conversation about a question. It can go off topic, it can stay on topic, we'll make it work. There's going to be 3 of those rooms and we're going to continue to have this exchange. The only thing we'd like to say before we open up those breakout rooms is that thankfully over the course of 9 now? 8, 9, something like that, of these events that we've done, we've never had an instance where anyone said that they felt uncomfortable because we have, or I wouldn't say that. We had moments where we've gotten uncomfortable, which is fine. Anti-racist work is uncomfortable, but where people have felt validated for having their feelings and have not felt disrespected for the sake of disrespecting someone as a person instead of the idea that you disagree with. So we just are asking that we continue to exchange in a dialogue and ask questions rather than be accusatory. Does that sound good for everybody? Awesome. So breakout room 1, what does political accountability look like? So we are all sitting here on this meeting because we want to be anti-racist and we want to make sure that our anti-racist efforts go toward changing the system that we currently reside in. And so I'm going to make sure that this question goes in the chat before I send you into those breakout rooms so that you don't forget it, because I'm notorious for that. You send me in a breakout room and I'm like, wait, what were we supposed to talk about? So it happens to me all the time. I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen to us. We're going to split it down the middle. Half of you will be in one group, half of you in the other, and you'll really get to know each other because you will stay in that same group for the next 3 questions. Does anybody have any questions about what we're about to do? That last line 100% came out of me teaching all day. And like, that is what I say before I let them do anything. Any questions about what we got to do? All right. So those breakout rooms are going to be opening in a second. Just bear with me. Although this is not a one-woman show, Black on Black Education team is incredible. Doing all of this at the same time is something. All right, so those are there. Breakout rooms are opening now. You should see that notification. I'm so happy that we're back in a group together. I want to know what you talked about because I really enjoyed the conversation that we had in the other group. So what were some of the key takeaways that came out of the other group? Can we have a point person let us know what happened over there? I'm a teacher. I'm really good at wait time.
I mean, I can do it, but I wanted to kind of let somebody else, grab the mic. Maybe Sandra, Anna,
Ooh.
What do you think?
Oh, she said, why you call me out like that? You gonna put my name in the, oh, that's crazy. All right, Dad, give me a tidbit. Then maybe somebody will jump off.
I think
I'll say some.
difficult.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Anna.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Anna.
Okay. We just talked about several things. First of all, the challenge of accountability, about how it is a challenge to try and figure out how to keep systems accountable, and somebody like the president and these different institutions accountable. We talked about the importance of leadership and how people can change just through policy adjustments, not even through legislation, that things can be different. Jamal talked about the idea of toying with becoming a politician and going to a couple of school board meetings and saying, this would drive me crazy because they're on such petty stuff, that we have to upgrade institutions, and also not take money away from public school. So the issue with choice is taking money away from public schools. And how do you do that? Are you building up a certain approach, or are you just removing money? So somebody might have an Afrocentric program that they want to have funds for to promote that. And somebody else is saying, oh, we need to take away this money and give it to Catholic schools or give it, you know, to school choice. And the how to balance the making sure that you don't take down public schools or really lower quality of public schools in the context of doing that.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you. Anybody else from that group have any kind of takeaways that they want to share? I know there was a few from our group. We'll switch over to them in a second. All right. So can someone from our group please kind of give a little bit into what we talked about in our group?
I got it.
Thank you.
Everybody just looking. So basically what we touched on is holding each, I guess, local, educating kids from a young age on the political parties, that they're more than two, educating them on the different types of branches of government. I think someone made an example of someone being an adult not knowing certain information that should be general knowledge to the community. I think one other thing too was being able to have a detailed guideline agenda of what the needs and wants for specific communities. And that's just basically what I got from what we had.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I had the pleasure of being in that group, and it was really insightful to hear everyone kind of talk about the same thing in different ways. Like, I feel like that's what everyone did. Everyone talked about like kind of very, very similar things, but in different ways, and how we all want to make sure that one, a great way of holding politicians accountable is to have a clear-cut agenda, right? And then someone else talked about, I brought up the idea that I was talking to a grown person the other day who didn't know we had state senators. Like, they didn't know that that was a thing. They thought senators were just the people in DC. And so there's so much around civics education that people don't know. And then we are confused when they don't show up at local elections because they didn't know that the DA is someone who we elect. And so the decision between whether we're going to prosecute an unarmed Black man and that was shot by the police or not prosecute that police officer, well, that's a DA's decision, and that's an elected official. That's somebody who gets to do that based off of who shows up to vote for them. And so we talked about a lot of things that as it pertains to political accountability, and I'm really excited to get into the next portion of our conversation. And so this one is definitely one I'm really excited to hear as we come back. So I'm going to preface that I'm going to ask people to talk in the big group. So just be prepared for it, because I'm gonna do it. But what does a healed America look like? So I am not we gotta sing Kumbaya and link arms with Trump supporters and tell them everything's gonna be okay. I am not of that belief system, that mindset. I'm not there yet in my meditation lifestyle. And so I'm trying to figure out, well, what does it look like? This can be an exemplar in a perfect world. What does it look like to be able to heal the country from what, I'm not even going to say Trump, because I think Trump is a manifestation of what America is. What does it look like to get out on the other side in a different America? Right? And so I am not saying that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are going to be able to do that for us. I'm asking us in this moment to think about what needs to happen in order to get there. What are some of those things? So that is the question. What does a healed America look like? I'm going to stop sharing so that I can put that question in the chat, so that I can make sure that you're not like me, confused and not sure what to do when you get in there. And I'm excited to have another really in-depth conversation. I might pop into the other group and send my dad to my group so we can jazz it up a little bit. All right. So those breakout rooms. All right. We got everybody back. I told you what to expect. What did we talk about? I was given chills in the last one. So I'm excited to hear what other folks are able to talk about in the other group.
I mean, JJ was just ending on a pretty, good point about away, and say that again, JJ. I like that.
So a point in our discussion was the Black community, or areas within America where the Black community can have their own space and kind of build up from within, and kind of like I don't want to say resegregate, but kind of like a select segregate. And we all thought that that can be good, but we don't think there should be a complete desegregation. And I was just kind of saying at the end that Shaquille was saying that post civil rights, it's not, it kind of got worse for the Black community. And I was saying that I don't know the historical factors or facts or stats or anything, but the way I think that why it would be worse is because integration can be a great thing, but you guys were set. It's like you guys are the away team and you're always playing in like a really loud stadium where you're always at the disadvantage because you were placed in a system that was built against you, even if you're just now working with everybody else. Instead of playing by your own rules, you're playing by somebody else's rules all the time.
I'm taking that one, JJ, and we'll make sure to give you credit for it.
I love that, and I love it for several reasons. I think it's one, thinking about how we were asked, we meaning Black people, we meaning generations previous to me, were asked to integrate into someone else's standard. Integration means we do this is what happens. Integration in the United States was, we took you from where you lived, we made you work, and now you're going to live and exist void of the cultural experience of where you come from and the people who you come from. So white dominant culture, I'm getting away from just saying white people, because honestly, it is so much bigger than that. It's white dominant culture that says to us that our way of living, our way of being is correct, and you are not. The foods you eat, the people who you exist in, your customs, your holidays, your names, those are wrong, and these are right. And so what does a healed America look like? We started talking about kind of what that is, and I'm gonna do it, Chandra. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna call you out. I'm gonna call for you. I'm calling you in. I'm not calling you out, girl. I'm calling you in to just share a little bit of what you were saying, because it really was giving me the chills.
So I want to touch on what Dondre, and I don't want to mispronounce your name, but he also spoke about JJ, what you were talking about. And I want to point out that Black people and other people of color want an affinity and a community that is solely theirs, because historically, when people have taken up space that white people believe do not belong to them, this white rage comes about. And that is what happened in Tulsa. That is what happened in Rosewood. That is what happens every single time a man or a woman was lynched. And Carol Anderson does a really great job at pointing out every single point in history when white rage has just taken over, and why that is used to justify why people of color should not have their own community. So, like, yes, all for, we can integrate and we can commingle, but also we need to create spaces where people can truly be themselves and be authentic and have a community that shares the same value as them. But Anna in our group was bringing up the concept of like white supremacy just needs to be dismantled, because everything that is wrong with our society was built on the fact that there will never be a healed America unless we start to acknowledge what we have done wrong. Like in Germany, what happened in the Holocaust was atrocious. And one of the great things that they have done is that they took accountability for their actions, and that they used concentration camps as a way to educate people so that they can learn about the atrocities of the Holocaust, and so that they can create ways for this never ever to happen again. And when we think about the United States, we have had countries for 400 years, more than 400 years, that have colonized other people, taken them from other lands, and brought them to foreign places for them to work for free or to work for little to no wages. And places like Great Britain have not said that they're sorry. Places like France have not said they're sorry. Places like the Netherlands have not said that they're sorry. Places like Spain have not said that they're sorry. And those are all countries that have colonized my country before Great Britain finally decided that they were gonna be the breadwinner. And so what has the United States done? What have they done to say that we are sorry that this happened? Yes, I know that I wasn't the one that caused this, but I reap the benefits from a system that was created for me and by me. And so part of a healed America is just taking a simple step to say, I'm sorry, what can I do to repair the damage that we have caused? Like, what is it that you need for you to start to become whole again? And to me, that's the starting point of what a healed America looks like.
Okay, so Chandra, you can just take over. I'm going to send you the slides. I'm going to send them to you, and I'm going to just let you do the rest of this because clearly that was a word. Okay.
That was like,
Can I add something to that?
Yes.
What you talked about the concentration camps it reminded me of something I read about how it's the opposite of what America does with a lot of our Confederate monuments and even people's expectations. Like some places like Monticello and other plantations have changed the way that they've taught about it recently, and some of them have been doing it for a long time. But either way, the tourists that go to those plantations sometimes are upset that they go there and they learn about slavery instead of seeing like ladies in hoop skirts talking about what a wonderful time it was before the war, And I think a big problem of why we don't have a healed America is we just refuse to accept that, no, the Confederates weren't fighting just for states' rights. They were fighting for states' rights to own slaves. They weren't just fighting for a lost cause. They lost the war. And their cause was never good. So once we start to accept that, I think that's a big part of it.
But I think also with that comes acknowledgement that yes, there was the North and the Union that fought for the Civil War to end, but necessarily not for the freedom of Black people. And also that a lot of it was performative because as soon as the war was over, they surely let those Southern Democrats create laws to help perpetuate racism. And part of that is the creation of the police system. And so while we can say, yes, that the South lost and Confederate monuments should be used as an educational purpose, let's also acknowledge that the people in the North didn't fulfill the vision of what a healed America should look like.
Thank you.
Yes, exactly.
and also that's still happening. Like the people that I have met and that I have worked with, that I do work with, that voted for Trump, like when I've asked them why, almost every time they talk about financial reasons. And so the fact that people are still placing priority on finances and money over humanity and human lives is, that's the exact same situation that America was in then.
Megan, are you holding a cat?
I am, yeah. She's very interested.
How much, you know what? This is why we do this and like literally not going to stop smiling for the rest of the night. Like I'm so happy. And I think that we're all saying and doing the right things, right? And so you're getting to the point where it is, how do we get those people at your job who are Trump supporters, who are putting finances over people's lives, over the students that they are literally teaching? How do we get them to come? How do we get them to have this conversation? I I can't, I don't know what the answer is. And so we're just going to keep working with it together and
I will
hope.
say I sent the link to them, so if they pop on, I'll like shoot you a quick chat to like give you a heads up.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. We have more coming, and so we are going. I'm super excited. I will make sure that we send a personal email to you, Megan. Make sure you have the link so you can send it and share it with everybody that you know. Because I mean, this is what happens every time we do this. So we're getting into the nitty gritty. We're almost done with tonight, which every time we get to this point, I'm just like, I don't understand how this is happening. So the last breakout room, we were supposed to still have a bunch of time to do it, but we're running short. So we're going to do 6 minutes. In the next 6 minutes, this is something that we do almost every time. What are those commitments that we want to make? What are those things that we are saying from now until the next event, now until next week, now until next year, and now until we get the healed America that Chandra described so eloquently and so beautifully for all of us? What are the steps that we as individuals want to take to that collective understanding? And so what commitments will you make in order to help move forward and prevent that complacency, that moral licensing, that feeling that we elected them in, we did it, it's done, and the work is over. Even the historical piece that we got just now, it was like, oh, well, we were the North. We were fighting not for slavery, but just like all that other racism stuff, we were just going to keep happening. And so that's pushing aside one thing because I triumphed in this area. I went to a protest, took a picture on Instagram, and now I'm done. Like I did it. Racism, done. And so we all, like I see the laughter, we all know that person, right? So how do we not be that person and call in the people who are going to help us move forward? So I'm going to give 6 minutes in those breakout rooms, and we're going to have a really super tiny little conversation when we get back, and then the night will be over. But I'm super excited. The question is coming in the chat. What commitments will you make? And also in the chat, there's going to be a link to a Padlet. We want everyone else who didn't make it tonight to still see the things that the commitments that you've made. We won't put your name associated with it. We will just show them the things that people in our group have committed to and the work that they should be coming and being involved in. So those breakout rooms are opening now. I'm super excited to get back in there. Enjoy the conversation. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you. I freaked out because I wasn't paying attention. That is so funny. Dondre was in the middle of talking. Dondre, just keep sharing, applying pressure. Bring everybody into what you were saying.
I wasn't a miss. No, but I was saying is enforcing pressure. I think that's a commitment that I think a lot of us should do, in particular this year. I told us that. And taking our roles, like actually like enforcing that, like everyone took a role or what they could have done with their power. And I think that allowed us to be uncomfortable in the situation that we're in with Trump in office, and actually want to see change in like a wide global sense. I think that's actually a beautiful thing to see. And I think also is to also keep our foot on the gas of our destination liberation. Because at the moment, I think a lot of people feel as though like we won. I probably said this already, but I think we won the battle, but not the war. Like it's a lot of work. I'm not sure. Like I'm not sure I'm gonna see liberation how I want to see it in my lifetime, but I like to set up some type of framework with my babies, granddaughters, siblings, so in case we can do the work. I'm taking the torch, so that's how I see it.
Thank you. And that's like very close to kind of how I think about it too. It really is just taking that time, because I mean, unfortunately, we're leaving this burden to our kids. We're leaving this burden to our kids' kids, and we're more likely than not leaving it to their kids. And so unlike climate change, I want to leave them a better plan to handle this than what was left to us. A better ideology around how to start and what reimagining could look like. And so here at Black on Black Education, we really try to respect folks' time. So it is 4 minutes to the end. I am going to zoom through the end, but if there are any lingering questions or anything that anybody wants to say, I'm going to prioritize that past anything else that are on these slides. So do we have any questions, or is there anything that anybody wants to kind of close this out and say before we move to the end?
I'll just say this. If you are truly want to see the liberation of Black people, and if you are Black yourself, for your people itself, continue to educate others and when they don't seem where they seem to lack knowledge in. Work within your communities in terms of politics, your leaders within your communities, making sure to hold them accountable to the budgets to be allocated to each individual, to your community. And also work on yourself, because before you can help others, you must help yourself. De-learn all of the traumas we've learned throughout the years and relearn and reteach for yourself and others. And I'll leave on that.
And I love the way we left it. Thank you so much. And again, if there are ever any questions, there's a contact slide. I literally always mess it up, but you will see it. So a link is going to come in the chat. Please, while your mind is so fresh with what we did and how we were able to interact with each other at night, if you could do the post-event survey, that would be amazing. I thrive off feedback and getting to know how you felt about the event, what you wanted to learn more of, what you wanted more of, what you wanted less of. That helps us build a better experience for you and for all of those who we want to make sure come in. Yes, Megan, I didn't forget. We're getting the rest of your schools, your teachers on here. We're going to do it. And then Black on Black Education t-shirts. It's about to be Black Friday. Support a Black owned business. Get your t-shirt. We've got JJ looking fly. We've got Aaron looking fly. My dad's down there. Just everybody got their shirts on repping. I forgot. I wanted to look cute today. I wanted to like look extra cute. So they're like on an 8, but I wanted to really perk it up.
Pulling a full 10 there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Megan. My head right might come off. I got a big head. All right, so Black on Black Education t-shirts. There should be a link coming in the chat for that and in the follow-up email with the video link of this recording of this event. You will get that as well. And they are on sale, 25% off all week. Get your shirt. And get them for all your friends. And then if you need to contact me, if there are lingering questions that you think of later, that is me. I'm always the person 2 hours past the meeting at work saying to my supervisor, like, oh, I knew you had a section for clarifying questions, but I didn't think about it until now. So if that ever happens, Black on Black Education or Black on Black Ed on Instagram, Eva at blackonblackeducation.com, at Black on Black Ed on Twitter. Reach out to us. We will get back to you. We are so excited. And all this contact information will also be in your follow-up email. And last but not least, with 1 minute to spare, thank you so much for deciding to spend your Tuesday night with us. We have some really big, really incredible things that are coming from Black on Black Education. So if you do not follow us on Instagram yet, please do that. That's where you will find out about what we're doing first. Black Education Conference is coming soon. Thank you all. Have a great, great night. I will stay on for a few minutes if anybody has questions. Bye. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Eva.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Super Anna. Amazing favorite. Black on Black Education. Loves you. Bye, y'all.